Check out celebrity financial expert Lynn Richardson on The Breakfast Club with Angela Yee, DJ Envy, and Charlamagne the God.
Wake that ass up early in the morning. The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the God. We are The Breakfast Club. We got a special guest on the line this morning. We have Dr. Lynn Richardson. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Now, Dr. Lynn is an author, entertainment executive, and celebrity financial coach. Now, that's what a lot of people need right now. They need some help with finances. I know a lot of artists, a lot of celebrities, a lot of people didn't plan for this. There is really no way to plan for this. They tell you to plan for 3 months, maybe 6 months, but I mean, we're going close to a year. So what would you advise people to do to stay stable, to make sure that they can come out of this if they're having, hard times losing their jobs, et cetera?
Well, I think I have to share a little bit about my background, because I think if people understand where I came from, they'd understand that I really understand what it means to go from zero to nothing. I was born and raised in Chicago. My grandmother was 75 years old, cleaning homes to wealthy people, putting me through college. She taught me to go to school, get a good education, get a good job, go to church on Sunday, wear clean underwear in case you get hit by a bus, all of those things. But yeah, grandmama's got to tell you to wear clean underwear. But what I didn't know anything about money. If I needed money, she'd tell me to look in the room, on top of the shelf, behind the box, inside my pocketbook, inside the zipper, wrapped up in a piece of paper towel, is $20. So when I got off to college, at a great college, one of the world's top academic institutions, I didn't have any money, so I got a bunch of credit cards. I couldn't pay anybody. When the creditors would call and say, "Lynn, can you borrow the money?" I'd say, "Can I borrow it from you?" I had all kind of funny answers. But then I got out in the real world. My credit was jacked up. I got my furniture from Rent-A-Center. So I'm supposed to be young, Black, and educated, but I was financially dumb. Fast forward, I get married. I'm successful. I helped the lady with 4 bankruptcies and 2 foreclosures overcome her credit issues, but I was not living the truth. You see, no matter how much money I made, I always found a way to be broke. I was not living check to check. I was living check to Monday. You see, check to check is when you get paid on Friday and by the next payday you broke. But check to Monday is a whole nother game. You get paid on Friday, kick it on the weekend, and by Monday you're broke. And I was making $80,000, $90,000 a month, not a year. It did not matter. So the number one thing that I have to say to people is more money doesn't solve a money problem. If it did, millionaires wouldn't go bankrupt. There's only one way for us to start to, get on this path to being financially free, and it's to spend less money. We come from a history of having. And so when we get the opportunity to have it, it's not that we are not intelligent. It's not that we aren't capable. African Americans and people of color, we are presidents. We go to the moon. We are astronauts. We are academically inclined. But when it comes to wealth, we are last. And so I tell everybody to live by the 10, 10, 30, 50. The first 10% you tithe, the next 10% you save. Right now in a pandemic, we've had a great opportunity. As a matter of fact, consumer spending, our consumer saving is up 10%, from 5% up to 15%. The next 30% is cash, and cash helps you avoid a spending addiction, which is what you have when you go to the grocery store for toothpaste and walk out with $179.47 worth of stuff you don't need, talking about it was on sale, and it wasn't on sale for you. And the remaining 50% stays in your checking account for your bills. So that's really the basics of it. There's a lot more to it. We have to spend less money. We have to get more money, because the more money you make, the more the IRS will take. So we have to have multiple streams of income, and then we have to learn how to get our money back. You see, if you went to the grocery store and you bought $300 worth of groceries and you came home and ate them all, and the grocery store manager said, "Come back and get your money, keep the food," you'd go back and get your money. But that's what the IRS says. The IRS says if you have a business, and I'm talking any home-based business, I'm talking DJs, nail technicians, makeup artists, babysitters, lawnmowers. If you have a home-based business, the IRS says when you go out to eat and you eat for business, you get your money back. When you can hire your kids to work in your home-based business. So many kids are home right now. So we have to learn the rules of the money game and then play the game by the rules. And I think right now, with the new administration coming in, I think this is the prime opportunity for people of color to really dig in and not be embarrassed, not be ashamed, because everybody has either had a money problem, is having a money problem, or will have a money problem at some time in the future, but to start to really do the homework to get our money straight.
Now, how did
Let me ask you a question.
Go back to $80,000.
Yeah.
How did you spend $80,000 a month and still broke? What were you spending? Were you flying private? Were you popping bottles? What were you doing spending $80,000 a month?
So I started out making, just like everybody else, I started out my first job making 25,000. Then you get a raise, now you're making 50,000 a year. Then you get into your flow, now I'm making 100,000 a year. Then I go into sales, now I'm making 50,000 a month. So here's the deal. If you get a raise and raise your expenses, you no longer have a raise. You in bondage, right? So what happens is when we get a raise, you get a $25,000 raise, you buy a $50,000 car. You get a $100,000 raise, you buy a $200,000 house. So my issue wasn't a spending addiction. Really, my issue wasn't buying clothes. It wasn't buying drugs. I don't smoke. I don't do anything. I had an issue worse than that. I thought I was God. I thought I could save everybody. So when my family members needed money, I would loan money to people even when I didn't have it, so they wouldn't think I was broke, which I was. So then that's a cycle. My kids were all-star cheerleaders. We were traveling all around the country. They were on ESPN. Any other kids who couldn't afford to go, I would pay for them. I would pay for their mother. So a lot of times we call ourselves sacrificing. We are strong and we love our community. But the best thing we could do for broke people is not be one of them, and then really start to do the homework so that we can elevate our financial game and then really have something to give back. But that's what it was. I got a bigger house. I got more cars. I took more trips. And I did not have a budget. I used to think budgets were for broke people. Isn't that crazy? Like the biggest institutions on the planet, they have a budget. And guess what? If they spend too much money on paper clips, then you're going to go into the office on Monday. You're going to have a paperclip memo. They're going to say, if you want a paperclip, you have to come see the paperclip clerk. Why? Because they saw that on the budget, there was too much money spent. And that's what we have to do. So they realized the CEO wasn't going to get his bonus. So what we have to do is start to track our spending. Some say money talks, but I say money walks away from you quietly and you don't know where it went. I wish money was here. I'm about to roll bounce up out of here. And when you come find me, I ain't gonna be here. But it does not talk. So we have to go and track every single dime. And what happens with us, we all say it's just. How many times have we said it's just? It's just $2. It's just $10. It's just $100. It's just $1,000. So when you add up all the it's just, that's where your wealth is.
My wife does that to me all the time, especially in regards to like loaning other people money. Cause with this whole Cash App era, Venmo era, you like, oh, it's just $500. Oh, it's just $1,000. But then you look after 6 months, you done spent $10,000, $15,000 giving it to other people.
Yeah, and it's like we have this clash with our heart because my grandmother, she passed last year right before her 98th birthday. So, my cousins and everybody, they see me on the Steve Harvey Show and Good Morning America and now the Breakfast Club, hallelujah. And so I'm successful. But here's the deal. When family members start asking for money and when family members start asking for things, it's like you want to help them. But I have to ask myself, how am I really going to help you? Am I going to help you by giving you money? Because helping and enabling are two different things. So when we enable, everybody actually gets worse. When we help, we can elevate people. So one of the things that I teach in my 21 Days to Financial Freedom class is when somebody asks you to borrow money, treat them like the bank. If you go to the bank and try to borrow $500, they want your name, social security number, your blood type. They want to know where your mama lives. They want to know what church you belongs to. They want to know everything. Yeah, right.
Now,
and they'll charge you interest.
The Medea of money, Dr. Lynn.
You said what?
Why do they call you the Medea of money?
I think they call me the Medea because the truth hurts. And I have been through it all. I've been through foreclosure. I've been through bankruptcy. And the reason I'm so passionate right now is because during the last recession, 2008, the Great Recession, I had just quit my job. At one of the world's largest financial institutions. I was a VP, very successful. I left the corporate world to come into the hip hop industry to start to teach celebrities and help, run their companies. I was running a big foundation for Russell Simmons and just helping folks. But the economy crashed. My 401k went to zero. My house was upside down. I owed $500,000 on a house that was only worth $100,000. And you know, some of my colleagues and peers, they were buying stock. I couldn't buy any stock. My sorority sister, she bought 100,000 shares, I think, of Bank of America. And when the stock price went up, she made a lot of money. I had about $2. I could have invested in a Big Mac, and that's all I would have gotten. And so I've been through it all. And because I've been through it all, I've lived Check the Monday. I've lived the lie. I was the, you know, the quote unquote intelligent Black girl, you know, in the neighborhood, but I was broke. And so it hurts. And I think when we can actually face it, because we don't talk about money. You know, people think bankruptcy is for broke people. Wealthy people use bankruptcy to preserve wealth. Wealthy people will say, my company is going to be down to $500 million in cash flow in 6 months, and we will not be able to survive. So they will file bankruptcy, reorganize, and then they'll start over and never miss a beat. Black people, we think that bankruptcy came from hell. We think we're going to hell. It's the last thing we do. So by the time we file bankruptcy, if we're going to do it, broke was 22 stages ago. We've lost the house. We pulled out the equity. We've sold everything. And so I'm not saying that everybody should do that. What I'm saying is we should get educated. And so I guess you know, a lot of times when I'm talking to people, it's painful. They cry. Because they've got some attachment to the things. It's Big Mama's house and so on and so forth. So I think you either gonna say ouch or amen. But I think in most cases, people hear the truth and they want to change their
Now, what do you?
I'm sorry, you go ahead.
What do you say to people who are living check to check, but they are also concerned about being able to save for the future? Like you said, you had a 401k, but maybe if your job doesn't offer that or whatever, what do you say to people who are like, I still want to invest and be able to have a retirement plan and some type of estate planning? How can they manage to do that if they're still trying to pay off bills?
So I think the very first thing is to first eliminate every single possible unnecessary expense. At the beginning of this pandemic, I was doing the exact same things that I was telling people. I was calling every single creditor. And I mean, I don't have any debt, but I still called the light people, the gas people, because I wanted to see what was out there and what was going to happen. And I was asking for extensions. So I say the very first thing is to eliminate every single possible unnecessary expense. Go through your bank statement. Look at the subscriptions that you may not be using. Look at those expenses that you have that you can possibly get rid of. Hire your kids to work in your home-based business. The IRS says when you hire your kids to work in your home-based business, you can pay each child up to $12,400 a year. That's IRS publication 15, page 13. I say it because people don't believe it and it's the truth. And you can pay your children, pay them a salary. And now all the things that you were going to buy anyway, like video games, clothing, Christmas gifts, whatever it is, all of those things that they can now buy with their own money, you now get a tax write-off. So we have to start thinking about every single possible way we can keep money in our pocket. The next thing we have to do is we have to get other streams of income. There's no other way. There's absolutely no other way. I mean, the thought that somebody's going to just land a big job that's going to pay them a big salary. And most people I know who get big jobs or get big salaries, they owe the IRS more money. So you have to spend less money. You literally have to get more money and then start to get your money back through proper tax planning. And then you just start with $1. If you save $1 this week and just add another $1 next week. So $1 in week 1, $2 in week 2, $3 in week 3. $4 in week 4, you'll have $1,500 at the end of the year. So start anywhere, start small. Start putting money into a 401k. My youngest daughter is 19. She and my middle child, they go to Howard, sophomore, junior. My oldest daughter graduated from college this year. And so I called them about 6 months ago, and I told them I needed some information because I was starting their retirement plan. So my 19-year-old, now she's been working for me since she was 6. She was like, Mom, I'm only 19. I said, yeah, but if you put $100 in your mutual fund in 30 years, when you almost my age, then you'll have $657,000. I think that's what the number was. She almost felt like we were on FaceTime. She was like, what? Then she started asking, well, what if I do 200? So the thing is, the biggest mistake that I made, I think most of us have made, had I just started putting $100 away for retirement when I was 20, when I was 19, when I was 25, then that would be a difference. So I think the biggest thing, Angela, is for people to know that no amount is too small to start. Just start and stay consistent.
Now, how do we get this? Because I think for myself, I think the curriculum in schools need to change. Like, they don't have a financial advisory course. They don't teach you. Most of our parents don't know. They don't understand. They live in their house till they die, and then they pass on the house with the bills. So how do we get this knowledge for people out there that's just starting off? Where would you advise them to look?
So if you go to askland.org, New Wealth University has classes on everything from how to start a home-based business, 21 days to financial freedom, how to invest in the stock market. I have attorneys teaching how to bounce back from bankruptcy. One of my dear friends from childhood, she passed about several years ago. She called me about a month before things were about to fall apart. This was in 2008. She had 700 credit scores. She said, Lynn, I cannot pay my bills next month. I've been floating money from one credit card to the next, to the next, to the next for the past, however. I said, okay. She contacted the attorney. She filed bankruptcy. Her credit scores went up from 700 to 800. Not what people don't understand is bankruptcy doesn't cause the credit score to drop. It's the things that lead up to the bankruptcy. It's the late payment, the collection. If they're coming to repossess your car, they're going to take the car and then they're going to garnish your wages because they still want the money. If they're going to take you to court, get a judgment. So the way to avoid that, file bankruptcy, they might even reduce your interest rate. So we have to get an education. And I have been saying this. It's like, I feel like Noah, who was telling everybody it was going to rain. I've been saying everybody needs a home-based business. Everybody needs a financial education. And then here comes the pandemic. And I think that in school, you bring up such a great point. We learn about photosynthesis. Do you need to know photosynthesis if you are not going to be a scientist? Do you need to cut up a frog? Do you need, but no, children need reading, writing, math, taxes. They need a tax education and they need a financial education. And so that's what we're starting to do. Hip Hop Sisters Foundation, which I co-founded with MC Light. We've given away over $1 million in scholarships to young people over the past 8 years. So they can get their academic education. But this year, we joined together with Candy Burris, and we've been giving away business scholarships. We've been giving away business scholarships to young entrepreneurs so that they can have a head start at starting a successful business.
Do you think everybody has the capacity to be an entrepreneur?
I think everybody has to be an entrepreneur. Whether we have the capacity or not is another issue. I think just like anything else, I think we have to learn. I think a lot of us are entrepreneurs and don't even really know it. I mean, when I was in my 20s, you could come to my house on a Saturday. I could do your hair. I could do your nails. They might be lumpy. I could write you an insurance policy, teach you how to quit your man or your woman, get a new one. I had all these different jobs. It was like, my name is Lenny and I got plenty. And I was on the, like being on a treadmill, running fast and going nowhere. So I think a lot of times, a lot of us try a lot of different things, but what we have to do in my book, The Symphony, A Guide to Creating and Balancing Multiple Streams of Income, I talk about in a musical symphony, there are many different instruments. And when you play each one at the right time, they make one beautiful sound. Well, in your business symphony, I call them increments. And if you start to work on one income stream at a time and not get impatient and stick with it, and get a proper team and learn the financial game, I think eventually everybody could have multiple streams of income. And if you're not good at business, then get the people who are. I run multiple businesses for, some of the world's most iconic people, but I don't do everything. I go get the marketing person. I barter with other people who have services that can help my business, and then I provide them with a service that can help their business. So it's a good question. Charlamagne, I think people don't know their power, and I think that's why we have to start teaching our people how to get it.
Now, you mentioned foreclosure, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what are the negative things about foreclosure? I mean, because you made it seem easy, you file for foreclosure, you get foreclosed, you start over, but it's not that easy because it's on your credit report for 7 years, and there's certain things that you can't around that time until, can you buy another home? Can you purchase another car? What is the negative side on the foreclosure thing?
So if you have a bankruptcy or foreclosure, so we'll start with the bankruptcy. If you file a bankruptcy, if you file a Chapter 13, a Chapter 13 is a repayment plan. That means maybe you're behind on your house, you're behind on your car. You cannot catch up on the past due payments, because what happens with a mortgage, if you are late 4 months, you can't just pay one. They won't accept one payment. You have to give them all 4 months at the same time. So if something happened, you lost your job or ill or whatever the case may be, it's hard. So in a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, All of your debts are going to be consolidated. They're going to give you one lower payment. They're going to probably get rid of all of the smaller credit cards with the highest interest rates. And you can buy a house 1 year after filing a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. People don't realize that. A Chapter 7 bankruptcy is when you just get rid of all the debt. You say, I can't handle it. It's too much. So let's discharge all the debt. You can buy a house 2 years after bankruptcy. And people tell you, and I respect many of the other financial experts, but a lot of times they're not dealing with us and our issues. You don't have to have a credit score to buy a house. With the FHA program, you can get a house with a 0 credit score. You don't even have to have any credit. You can get a residential mortgage credit report, because I've practiced in mortgages, real estate, insurance. I've been an investment advisor. I've done every single area in the financial services industry. You can get a house. They will take your rent. They will take your cell phone. They will take your light bill, and they will take a rent plus 3 other bills that you pay to anybody, get a 12-month history, and create what's called a residential mortgage credit report. So you can bounce back quickly after bankruptcy. People who file bankruptcy, and this is so important. And again, I'm not saying everybody should do it. I think you should. When I filed bankruptcy the first time, it was a Chapter 13. The second, it was a Chapter 7. I got rid of my Lexus. I started over, and I learned at that point, okay, I actually have to follow financial rules if I'm going to be successful. Mind you, my undergraduate degree was in economics, business, and finance. Just an educated fool. So a lot of times we think we can outsmart the rules, but we can't. So you can bounce back from bankruptcy. Foreclosure, if you file a foreclosure, so let me explain what happens. If you are in trouble with your house and you cannot afford it, you need to reach out to a bankruptcy or real estate attorney, because what they'll do, they'll file the proper paperwork with the court system. I wound up staying in that house that was upside down because there was no way I was going to pay $500,000 for a house that was only worth $100,000. And many people I know like that. I went through the process. I wound up staying there another 5 years. And when I left, they gave me cash for keys. So if you get educated and if you do the right thing, and I took that money and started over and so on and so forth. So there are ways to bounce back, but we have to stay educated and stay connected to each other and not be ashamed to talk about it.
You're saying with an FHA loan, right? That's a first-time home buyer's loan, right? You can get a loan with 0 credit score?
You can get a loan. So here's what you could do with the FHA. So you don't have to be a first-time home buyer. You can only have one FHA loan at a time, and you have to live in the property. So that's one of the myths that's out there. A lot of people think, oh, well, that's a low income loan. No, the FHA program was created for people who either had a small amount of money to put down or lower credit scores, but the interest rates are the same as your traditional bank. So just because you get an FHA loan doesn't mean your interest rate is going to be higher. So let's start there. The second thing is you can have an FHA loan. You can have them multiple times. This could be your 5th home. As long as you are going to live in the house and it's your only FHA loan, you can get it. So you can get it with almost no money down, less than 3%, and you can do it with no credit score. And what people also don't know, the FHA 203K rehab loan, you can rehab your place. You can convert a 2-unit into a 4-unit. You can do a 4-unit. You can have your apartment, live on the first floor, or have your barbershop on the first floor. You could have 3 apartments upstairs. You can live in one. That's a commercial residential. And the only way you can do that with 3% down is through the FHA program. You can rehab, paint, put new roofs, new roof, windows, all of those things. So there's a lot out here for people to be able to build wealth.
I didn't know that was 0 with a 0 credit score. I never knew that.
Yeah. Zero credit is better than bad credit. So people will tell you, oh, you don't have good credit. You have no credit, then you're okay. You can get the things that you need.
Let me ask you a question, Dr. Lynn. When we talk about multiple streams of income, the first thing people will say is, I don't have time. I'm working this job. I got kids. I'm in school. What would you say to the people who say, I don't have time?
I did an Instagram post on that. I said, you got to snatch the time. You have to snatch the time. You have to find the time. You have to get rid of the things that are draining you. You have to empower your children. I've been married 25 years. I have 3 kids. But when I was grinding, when I was trying to get to the next level, let me tell you something. I'm not cooking. You're going to have to fix you a sandwich. I remember coming home off of a trip, traveling, day and night and so on and so forth. And my youngest daughter left her lunch at home. So the first day I took her lunch to her. The second day she left it, you're going to starve. So we have to empower the people around us, because especially a lot of time as women, we think we have to cook, we have to clean, we have to do this, we have to do that. No, I gave my children chores. I asked my husband, okay, can you cook on these days? So we have to get the time, and we have to remove some of the things that are inhibiting us. Now, at the same time, I had a conversation with my family. I said, look, we need to win, and I got to go out and score the points. So while I'm going out and scoring the points, I need you to do this part, you to do that part. When it comes down to time, we absolutely have to snatch it back. I had to stop chit-chatting on the phone. My mama calling, she want to talk. I'm like, Mama, you need to text me. And she didn't even have a smartphone. I'm like, let me tell you something. We are not going to be able to talk. You're going to have to text me, send me a picture. And so we laugh about it now. Everybody thought I was crazy then, but I had to grind. I had to grind, and I had to give myself the time to put my mind on the thing that I wanted to grow. Everybody can say, I don't have the time, but we have to make the choices, and then we have to get the people around us to cooperate.
So what else do you do to make people around you feel empowered?
You know, I try to live the kind of life, you know, I'm here now. This will be public. When my family, my friends, the people who are around me look at this, they can say she's speaking the truth, because I feel it in my own life. And so I would say to everybody, you know, for me, I'm always looking at myself to be the change that I want to see. I can't judge. I can't point the finger. I can't say what you should do, what you should do, who's Zooming who's sleeping with who. That ain't none of my business. The best thing that we can do, that each one of us can do, is be the best ourselves to ourselves. And when you're the best thing to yourself, then you look around and people get empowered. This was a hard journey, because when I started getting my money straight, I had a big house in the suburbs. My children were accustomed to having Christmases with toys from the front of the house to the back of the house. So when we start cutting back on things, my youngest daughter, she asked to get her hair done. And I think my husband might have said, well, you know, we got to look at the budget. She said, are y'all broke? Like, she was disgusted. She was disgusted. And it dawned on me, it was like, man, like, what have I done to my kids? Like, I've really jacked them up. So a lot of times we think we're sacrificing. Let me get my kids this. Let me buy them that. Let me go get them this. But what kids need are parents who are going to give them a financial education so that they can be financially independent. So it was hard. That Christmas, I used to spend $3,000, $4,000 per child, coats, little cars, Barbie dream cars, all this stuff. And that Christmas, I spent $150 all together on all three. I made them each a photo album with pictures from the time they were, before they were born up until that age. And they enjoyed that Christmas. They were feeling kind of bad because we didn't have a lot of stuff. But over time now, my kids have 700 credit scores. They have money in the bank. They spend responsibly. My youngest daughter, she keeps trying to wear my burgundy Timberlands because she don't want to buy her own. She's too cheap. So over time, I think when we do the tough things, it rubs off on the people around us. And the people who are true to us are going to stick with us. Because when I had a whole bunch of money, I had a whole bunch of friends. When I have any money, everybody was gone. So we just kind of take it day by day.
What are some unique financial opportunities you've seen for people during this pandemic? Because I know a lot of people have been struggling, but we've seen some people really come up. So what are some stories or things that you've seen?
Oh my goodness. First of all, what everybody have to understand is this. Whenever there's a pandemic, a disaster, this 9/11, Hurricane Katrina, the recession of 2008, the stock market crash, whenever things are going bad publicly, there are a whole bunch of people getting rich. There are a whole bunch of people coming up. And I said, you know, you'll either be, there was a post, you'll either be a millionaire, a billionaire, or a witness coming out of this pandemic. So number one, everybody needs to think about that stream of income that they can create virtually. So what is your business? Okay, you used to be a fitness trainer. How are you going to turn that into a virtual fitness program? You used to be a cook. How are you going to turn that into a virtual situation? I remember being on, I forgot what show it was, and a lady had lost everything because her flower shop was no longer, you know, delivering any flowers at the beginning of the pandemic. I said, but ma'am, you are in the business of bringing joy. What other way can you bring joy? There are other ways. So she wound up finding an app program. And so she was able to deliver messages for corporations and so on and so forth. So I think everybody needs to understand this is the time to understand the stock market during times like this. When the stock market crashed, you know, Zoom is like $400 a share. I'm not telling anybody what stock to buy because I can't do that, and you shouldn't do that. Everybody should sit with an investment advisor and then understand their risk analysis. But everybody should understand how to invest in the stock market, their 401k. I don't care if it's $1, 10, or 1,000. We should start to watch the news, see what's happening in terms of economy, look at virtual streams of income, look at businesses that have gone out of business, figure out ways that you can be a part of either them thriving or starting something new. I think if everybody figures out how can you use your gifts to solve a problem? What problem exists? I mean, for me, it's people need motivation, inspiration, and financial education. So I can talk until the cows come home. So I can use my mouth. I can use my financial skills and so on and so forth. But I think right now we need to continue to communicate with each other about opportunities and just keep seeking.
What would be your number one piece of financial advice that you offer to people?
The number one thing I would say is to stop trying to keep up with the Joneses. Rich people stay rich because they act poor, and poor people stay poor because they act rich. And poor people stay poor acting rich in front of other poor people, which is real crazy.
Right.
And I've been there, done that. I think the absolute number one thing to put that in a nutshell is to forget about what other people think. Stop worrying about what other people think. I know families who are struggling. They're trying to send their kids to college because they promised them that they could go, but now you can't afford it. And now you're struggling, you borrowing money, pulling money out of the house. In my household, school is free. That's what I told my children. And we value education. I did my undergrad at Northwestern. My two youngest go to Howard. My oldest daughter graduated from Northwestern. But I told my kids school is free. If you get A's, you go to school for free. If you get C's, you go into the free school. My daughter was like, which one? The community college down the block. Either way, it's going to be free for me. You can go to the community college, you can work. Now, sometimes parents don't want to do that because they worry what their friends going to think. They worry if they're going to disappoint their children. But here's something. The truth, 1 + 1 = 2. If your stuff add up to 10, it'll never, ever get into 2. So we got to stop worrying about what people think. I say that there are 5 F's that keep us broke. Feelings. Any bad financial decision is connected to feelings of guilt, feelings of, whatever. Feelings, family. A lot of times we are trying to overcompensate and family members think we got it. We really don't. We feel bad. Friends, we hanging around with friends from kindergarten. And now we need to get a whole new circle. Not that we need to leave them behind, but we need to surround ourselves with people who are going to elevate us. I say food. We spend too much money on food. Our wallets are getting skinny and our stomachs are getting fat. And the last one is fun. We're spending money on fun. People at the club, kicking it, going out, this, that, and the other. Now, that doesn't mean we shouldn't have peace. Because when I hit rock bottom, I was on food stamps in 2008. I was on food stamps. Food stamps. College educated, master's degree, all of that on food stamps. I wasn't having fun. I was grinding. So when we have to get to that next level, I think everybody needs to know. My big brother, Les Brown, says, if you can look up, you can get up. I don't care what your situation is. I don't care how bad it got. I don't care who left. I don't care what the money situation looks like. Everybody can recover if we're willing to put in the work. You just got to stop caring about what people think.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much, Lynn, for checking in and giving us some great information.
Lynn, we'd love for you to check in on the regular too. We'd love
Come
to
on,
add you to the
I'd
breakfast
love
club.
to.
We need some help for people who are getting all this money off of OnlyFans and blowing it. We need you to give them some advice. We should do that segment.
Yeah, we can take some different topics and we can just go in there. I'd love to come back. Thank you all. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you.
I do want to ask one more question just in terms of investing. Like, how does a person determine a smart investment from a risky one?
So the first thing with investing is to invest in the things that you know about. Invest in the things that you use. This phone, Apple, do you have any stock? If you wear Nikes, do you have any stock? We're using Zoom, Shopify, like all of these things. There are some stocks, they're called like forever stocks. The stocks that have been around forever and are never going anywhere, like Procter & Gamble, toothpaste, soap, toilet tissue, those kind of things. So start with the things that you use and start with the things that you know. The second thing with investing is you literally have to study it. You have to study the stock market. Sometimes I'm heavy into it, other times I'm not. I'm heavy into it when I have the time to read. You actually got to read financial reports. You actually got to know who's doing what. And then it's like once you start reading, I can't tell anybody like, oh, you'll never learn it. The way I learned it was just to get in it. And I know people, this don't have anything to do with an academic education. This has to do with you just getting in there. So start with the things that you know, ask questions, read the Financial Times, watch CNBC, Squawk in the Morning. There are different ways that you can start an investment club or get in an investment club, but start to take it one little thing at a time. If you buy one stock a week, in a year, you'll have 52 shares of some company. In 2 years, you'll have 104 shares. And over time, that money is going to grow. So I think it's one of the biggest things that we're missing in our community as well.
All right. Well, Dr. Lynn Richardson, thank you so much for checking in and giving me your Instagram so people can follow you and check you out.
Lynn Richardson. Follow me everywhere at Lynn Richardson.
All right. Well, it's the Breakfast Club. It's Dr. Lynn Richardson.
Thank you.
For more information about Lynn Richardson's online classes, books, and webinars, please visit lynnrichardson.com.
Share and subscribe.